What you just said to me. Is that
He'll have a mob. Yeah. Look, I mean, it's first time. It's good. Mirror. Really. All right. Good morning. Welcome to Mirador Television. My name is Max Hurd, and I'm joined here by Stuart Dolby. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I am very well, thank you.
I've literally only just got in. The bus was quite late.
Bear on me, I tried to, yesterday, later on, you'll have to show me. I went into Mirador Television, YouTube, and I couldn't find that thing we did with Mark Chadwick yesterday. So you'll have to show me how to do it.
Yeah, I can. I was busy that morning. Didn't get to watch it, but I watched it afterwards.
What did you think of it? It's very good, wasn't it? I thought.
No, I really didn't.
You didn't like it?
I thought it was terrible. Do you know why?
Why?
It was muted the entire time.
Huh?
It was muted the entire time.
Muted?
Muted. Couldn't hear a thing.
Oh, blimey.
It was the whole time. So, yeah.
Why was that? Oh, the bloody, it was muted.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mark actually said that. I was looking at that all the time.
Yes.
Oh, what a ball.
It
was very good, actually, what we said.
Well, no one...
Nobody heard it.
Nobody knows. Well, we're going to get into the headlines first. Have you seen anything interesting come up?
No, I haven't seen anything interesting. Well, depends what you call interesting, doesn't it?
Well, oh, yeah, that's interesting.
What's that?
Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan.
Yeah. Yeah, but you've got to Taiwan and China. When I was a long time ago now, I used to go there, and there's no way that China was going to take it back.
There is. Do you not think China's going to take Taiwan now?
I can't see why. They've had so many opportunities just to take it, but why they haven't done it and by now is rather bizarre. I don't know. You haven't been to Taiwan, but you know.
No, I've never even been to Scotland or Wales.
You know, Taipei is very like Las Vegas, basically. It's all shopping and it's these Chinese towns, and of course in Hong Kong. Well, for example, I don't know what it is now, but there was no gambling allowed. So
probably still isn't.
So it was an offshore sort of an offshore. Money laundering place, really, in a way. But Taiwan is, they think, now that China is a very different place to us when I was there, I mean, they seem to be, I think my thing that really is that China's its bark is bigger than its bite, really. They talk loud, but they don't really go through with it. That's what I think. I don't quite know why, because maybe they feel they don't want to be, isolated in the whole global economy. That is another thing, you see, because in the past, China was saving up huge amounts of money because the peasants didn't know what to spend it on. There wasn't anything to spend it on. They could spend it on, so there was a huge surplus. They didn't know what to do with the ruble, and what they finally did, not the ruble, what is it?
The yen?
The yen, yeah, if you like to call it that.
Is it the yen? No,
that's Japanese. No, it's...
I have no idea. The Chinese money.
Yeah. Anyway, they invested in American bonds. And the situation was like two blind men holding one another up, because America was over borrowed. So China investing over there was really quite a good thing, because there were very good returns. And that's always been the situation. So they don't want to aggravate America, I don't think. America really is still a very, very powerful, militarily, economically, in a way, politically. So I don't think China, this is why they're sort of, a bit dodgy with Russia. Sometimes they think Russia's okay, sometimes they don't like it at all. But they're very difficult to read because since they sort of shook off communism and Mao Zedong and all that kind of thing.
Well, they still are a communist country.
Well, politically they are, but economically they're not, because they own half of they own a lot of Zimbabwe, for example. They own a lot of Somaliland, all these places. They got investments everywhere now. But they sort of, I don't think politically they are that sure of themselves.
Well, I don't know. I sort of disagree. They are communist, and it's exactly how communism works, the Chinese system. Everyone's a serf apart from the 0.1% who own everything. That is communism in a nutshell, every time, pretty much.
I don't think that's right. Politically, economically speaking, they are not communist. They have a market economy. Therefore, that's what it is. And Vietnam is the same. Politically, it is communist, but economically, it's like a venture capitalist. It has a really capitalist economy where they make great deals of money. You've got to remember that Chinese make an awful lot of things like Nikes and shirts and God knows what else. So they're actually
they make all of our electronics.
Yeah.
Everything. This computer, this phone, this light, your phone, everything.
Well, actually, come on, Korea makes quite a lot of those. It's not China entirely. They don't have a total monopoly on that.
Well, they do have. They don't have the monopoly, but they do have the majority.
Possibly, yeah, probably.
Which is concerning.
So how can you call them a communist? They're not, economically speaking, communist. They don't have a communist economy, if you like to put it that way.
In communism, there is one class. There's two classes. There's the serf class, which is all the regular citizens, and then you have the party members.
Yes,
they are the rich people every single time, and that is the communist system every time, and that is the Chinese system.
Everybody is equal, but the rich. Yes. Exactly. Well, how can you say it's communist? It's communist because there are two classes. But how many classes are there here, for example?
That's a good question. I guess
upper class and lower class.
And middle class. There's three classes, I suppose.
Yeah, well, you've probably got three classes in China because you've got to have some technocrats to actually do all the bloody work. It's not just the political elite. It's there's a technocrat role, isn't it?
Yeah, but you had that in the Soviet Union as well. Was the Soviet Union not real communism?
It was, yeah.
They had pretty much a similar system to what China had. Everyone serfs. There's a few middle class people. And then there's the people who are the party members.
No, I'm sorry, you're simplifying too much. This is not the case. Russia is very different because Russia's not competent the way that China is. Therefore, you haven't got that middle.
No, I'm talking back in the Soviet Union times.
Well, when the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore.
I know.
Yeah. Well, then how can you call it communist? You're calling Russia communist, are you?
No, I was comparing the two to current day China and when Russia was a communist country.
Yeah.
I was comparing the two. I'm not saying Russia is communist now. But communism is the second biggest party in Russia. The Communist Party, which is I was surprised to find out.
Well, it's no use being second, is it? I mean, yes, there are elites. There's always been that. Even in the Soviet Union, there was elites. I mean, the Soviet Union, all these guys had dashes and God knows what else, didn't they? And everybody else had to be equally broke. That was what. That's why you see. This is why Russia didn't work, because you need when capitalism requires a market force. What is demanded and what is supplied, and how is it equalized? But in China, in Russia, the whole thing was we will actually produce so many of these, irrespective of whether the demand for them was there. Okay,
right.
So they were all making all this stuff for which there was no demand. So it was a waste of space. So you've got to have a market economy. So divide where demand and supply eventually becomes equal. You see?
Right.
Market will just decide how much is made and how much is sold, sort of thing. That's what a market economy is.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But still, China controls a lot of the manufacturing, a lot of the products we consume. If they just said no, we would be screwed. It's unlikely that they would just say no to us, but we would
not
be
true,
screwed.
not true, because once the Chinese started getting leery about the Vietnamese, anything the Chinese do, we can do, right? And Korea has a huge bloody economy based on electronics. South Korea, that is, not North Korea, obviously. What, have you got a Samsung phone?
Huh?
Have you got a Samsung phone?
I do, yeah, that's Korean.
Right, yes.
But still probably made in China.
It wasn't made in China, it's made in South
probably.
Korea. No, not probably, certainly not.
Because I know iPhones are definitely made in China. They're made in the Foxconn factories in the province of Zhejiang. In the Foxconn factories where they make these iPhones, they actually have suicide nets on the side of buildings because so many people tried to kill themselves that it was getting they were losing profits. So they put these suicide.
Where do you get this information from?
There are videos. There are pictures. Would you like me to search them up?
Yeah,
I'll do. Okay. Well, I can't show it on the stream, but I can show it here. Foxconn factory in China. There we go.
Yeah.
So all these Chinese people are making all the Samsung, all the iPhone products.
You sure they're making Samsung?
No, they're making these are most the Foxconn is specifically iPhone. So these are the nets they put up on the. Oh, these are the nets they put up on the side of buildings. Can you see these?
Hang on.
These are to catch people from killing themselves.
Silicon Valley doesn't produce anything then?
Not really, no. I mean, they produced some chips, but this is Foxconn factory, and they used this because it's cheaper. Sorry, I can't show you on the stream because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to screen share properly. And oh my god, that was actually a dead person. Okay, I'm clicking off of this now. But yeah, those are the suicide nets they have inside of buildings to catch the workers trying to kill themselves because they're in such horrible conditions.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you could have fooled me. Anyway, that's what you think.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll go into some of the headlines. From the Mirror.
Brazen profiteers.
Brazen profiteers. Oh, this is about BP and Shell.
Yeah.
Oil giant makes $7 billion in 3 months, whilst we all struggle with fuel costs.
Yeah. Well, you know what that's about, don't you? You know what that's about? Well, when Boris came his strategy for what's it?
Yeah.
He actually said we've got to go back to oil. When for years he's been talking about getting nuclear and renewable energy and so forth and so on. That went right out the bloody window because the price of oil was going up because of its supply and demand. You see what I mean? Supply and demand, the market economy. Because
Boris backtracked and didn't stay true to his word.
Well, of course.
Oh,
that's what he does.
I'm really shocked.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you are. About as shocked as a bloody quiver, I should think. Yeah.
As shocked as a quiver. I have no idea what you mean by that. What's the next headline? That was from the Mirror. This is from the Guardian. Outrage as oil firms rank in huge profits with bills soaring. And then the second headline is Nancy Pelosi lands in Taiwan. U.S. speakers visit. U.S. speakers. Sorry.
Yeah.
What does that say?
US speakers in Taiwan, US speakers visit leaves China furious.
Oh, US
Yeah,
speaker
Oh, I'd rather go back to
visit
the
and leaves
previous one
furious.
about the oil prices.
Okay, yeah.
Fine. The thing about it is what I've been going on for months now, is that the brazen profiteers came because we have not invested enough in renewable energy to meet our energy mix, right?
Right.
Therefore, we have to find something else, and that is obviously oil, because there's still some oil in the North Sea, although basically there's not much of it because it's tired and old. So why has Biden gone to Saudi Arabia? Why has Boris gone to Saudi Arabia to ask for more oil? Because simply we have not invested enough in renewable energy companies. That's been my clarion call for a long time, as you well know.
Yes.
And therefore, they have to fall back on brazen profiteers. So when the strategy document came out, which was ill thought, obviously, and Boris read it out, you're going to do this, and we're going to have North Sea oil, and there's some onshore, and that's it. And Peter Helm, and like he says, he was the energy professor at Oxford and a government advisor. He says there's got to be a gas bridge, gas being the least polluting, right? And I was going around saying, I think it's 10 years. Well, he said it's 15 years. And a colleague of mine who still writes about oil, but he also writes about renewable, he said, I'm speaking to these oil companies. He said, I don't think it's 15 years, Stuart. I think it's a generation because of the lack of investment. It's, that's what my website is all about, as you know. That, it should have been more investment in these companies. Then you could actually have any renewables to run the economy, to run our economy. And these people wouldn't be facing these huge bills. We can talk about that later on Energy Matters. Anyway, as far as Taiwan was concerned, Keith and I were just talking about it over there. It's a long time ago I was in that part of the world, but it was always, China was always talking about bringing back Taiwan because it really is part of sovereign China. But they never did it. And
do you think they're going to do it?
Well, you see, what I think is China's bark is bigger than its bite, because I don't think that they want to ultimately aggravate the US of A. And the reason is because, I was just saying that as you say, if it's a communist economy, all the serfs save their money because they're not allowed to spend it all. So there's Russia in terms of the what is there? Well, it's not the yen, it's the
Chinese currency.
The Chinese currency is what it's
The Dara. I don't know.
I used to know. I can't think what it is now. Anyway, there's a lot of it, and they can't invest in Europe, but they invest in America. Okay, now America they treat about 12 trillion in debt, so they welcome the investment. So we've got two blind men holding one another up, basically. That's what the whole situation is, and that results in a sort of status, sort of deadlock, if you like. That China is dependent on America, and America is in a way dependent on China, and also, the military stuff is a bit of a bluff. They do this with Vietnam as well. They keep threatening them, but they don't do anything in the end because they reckon that the Paracel Islands off Vietnam are part of China. And you look at in Vietnamese history, there was one time when Vietnam took over China, which is difficult to bear now, but I think that there's always been a Cold War, always about in the 16th century or something like that,
okay,
a long time ago.
Yeah.
But they're always at odds now. And China really thinks the Paracel Islands are part of China, where Vietnam insists that they're not.
Right.
But China occasionally lands a sort of boat there or something like that, but it never actually does what it says it's going to do.
Do you see China invading Taiwan within your lifetime?
I'd be surprised. Well, I haven't got long to go, so yeah, the answer is no.
Well, I think the answer is yes. I think you're underestimating China. Honestly, I think they have a very.
I think I've had more dealings with China than you're ever going to
Yes.
have. I tell you, but I
I'm
tell you,
sure that's true. Yeah.
you seem to read these ridiculous newspapers that tell you silly things. But anyway, the thing is that China is very hesitant about doing what it says it's going to do, because they've got to live in the real world, and they've got to really come to terms with, the world's greatest power, which is ultimately militarily and economically, isn't it?
Well, I'll move on to the next headline. We're only into the third headline,
which is about the oil companies.
So from the Daily Star, BP $7 billion profits as our energy bills soar. Greedy bleeders. I'm not quite sure what that means, but that's the headline from the Daily Star.
Yeah, well, partly what you've got to understand about BP, it's not just the oil, because they are an integrated company. They have distribution, right? They have down the bottom there, they got all the pumps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that brings in lots of money. So oil is probably just one third of their profit. But yes, it is rather sad that we've had to revert to using oil as our main energy source.
Well, the Daily Star has another headline here saying 40 degrees set to return. Apparently, we might have another 40-degree day this summer. I hope so. I'll be going back down to the beach if that's the case. I don't know. I've not heard anything about that. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Well, I don't know about weather forecasting. It's pretty, here and there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they say one day it's going to be definitely. I mean, back in '87, when there's definitely going to be no typhoon, and the bloody half of London with trees were blown over. No, like yesterday, for example, they said, it was going to be another very hot day, but it wasn't very hot yesterday, was it?
Not really.
It didn't go up into the 38s or something like that, did it? So I don't think probably meteorology is not exact science, is it, in a way?
No, well, I don't trust the news. The only news I trust is the weather, and even then, they're wrong all the time.
Well, do you know what the French philosopher Voltaire used to say?
No, I've got no idea.
The only thing that the British can talk about is the weather. It's absolutely true. Everybody talks about the weather. Oh, not a bad day. Oh, a sunny day. Good morning. How are you? Oh, lovely day, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's all we seem to talk about. Main course of our conversation is the weather.
Okay, so from the Daily Telegraph, hacking warning delays Tory votes. I haven't seen this. Apparently, the voting system got hacked, which...
That is very, very interesting, isn't it?
That is very, very common as well, unfortunately.
Well, that is what happened in America, cyber warfare. There, you see what? They were very anxious to say the Chelmsford, what is it called? The headquarters of the cyber.
The CIA?
No, not the CIA. We haven't got CIA here.
Oh, I thought you were talking about America.
Yeah,
MI6?
No. It's in Chelmsford, isn't it?
I have no idea.
It's the centre of espionage, anti-espionage, isn't it?
Anyway, those people. Yeah. What about them?
Well, they've actually warned the government, that you must be very careful about this voting, because there could be cyber espionage.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. The voting systems are all connected to the internet. Anything on the internet can be hacked. Yeah. It's difficult, for sure, but it's very possible.
Yes, this is what the papers are saying now, that the voting system is being hacked. What's it, right?
They talk about this every single election, and no one ever does anything, it seems like. They just go, we won anyway, we'll sort it out.
It seems they are doing it now, because the government has actually said, they're going to ban it and sort of stop it. Whether they can or not, I don't know.
I think all our votes should just be, I don't know, it shouldn't be online at all, because that's very unsafe and unreliable. But then so is mailing in your votes, or
Oh yeah, well that's supposed to be.
that's
They're supposed to put a stop on that as well.
yeah. But I think paper, like going actually to the ballots and ticking a square of paper, is probably the safest way, because there are so many people physically watching the ballots. Once you put yours in the ballot box, there's so many people keeping an eye on all of it. It's reliably safe.
Yeah, but what about what's the alternative? What about if people in the town hall can't count?
Well, if everyone in the town hall can't count, then I would be very surprised. So that's from the Daily Telegraph. Move on to the Daily Express. Truss. Only I can deliver the growth Britain needs.
Really?
I
thought Miss Truss is now bothered because about public sector pay or something.
What was that?
Public sector pay.
What about it?
Well, she was going to cut it, wasn't she? And now she had 12 hours after she announced the policy, she had to recant.
So what? Similar like when Rishi Sunak said, "I'm not going to cut taxes."
Sunak buoyed after Truss ditches plan to cut public sector pay in poorer areas. Liz Truss Tory leadership campaign, this is the FT, yeah? It never gets anything wrong, don't forget.
I'm sure they're the most reliable.
Absolutely. And the most balanced. Liz Truss Tory leadership campaign has suffered a serious setback after she was forced to abandon a plan to cut the pay of public sector workers living in poorer areas of Britain. So she's had to pull that, and it's a serious blow. So what does that mean?
I don't really know. So she isn't cutting it?
Well, she's got to, apparently.
Okay. Well, I still think Liz Truss is the least worst of the two. Not that she's any good, she's just the least worst.
Well, I'm inclined to agree with you, except that I think she's a bit dreamy. I think that Sunak does have a real point about it's no use cutting taxes madly when you've still got this rapid inflation going on. I mean, I think that is the one point that he can really go on, because he's trying to do all kinds of things now, like in energy. He wants to get rid of the VAT, and while Truss wants to get rid of the green levies. You know what kind of relief that will supply? 200 quid to a household. No?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is a personal anecdote, but we a couple months ago had an extra 2 people living in our house.
Mm-hmm.
My sister and her fiance were living in the house, and our electric bills almost doubled whilst they were there. And they've moved out now a couple months ago, and what with the price in energy having risen, we are still higher than we were with 2 extra people. Even having lost 2 adults, our energy bills are more than what it was with those 2 there, because of how much the prices have gone up.
Yes, but the prices are all over the place. Like I'm at EDF, okay?
Yeah.
And I personally set, because I understand these things, I would pay £250 a month.
Right.
And sure enough, I was always in credit. And then I got £100 back last time. Now, this time, they haven't demanded anything at all. And I said, well, what is it? She said, oh, you owe us £157. I said, what are you talking about? I said, all these things you hear about are on a typical house of 3 bedrooms, where loads of kids are coming in and playing their games on their phones and all that kind of thing.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, right. And then the government comes in from work, like puts on a telly and I live in a 2-bedroom house, and our bills are energy use is very, very, very low.
What is your monthly bill? Do you know?
Well, it's 250 because that's what I set it as.
Right.
Okay. So, last time, right? I said, right, that now that this then gets into the smart meters, because the smart meters are totally unreliable. They only give you certain information, not the whole story, right?
Yeah, I can believe that.
Uh,
I said, yeah, I can believe that.
right. So therefore, I said, right, look, this is not just now, but last time. I said, look, your smart meter says in the first 6 months of the year, I used £530 of gas and electricity. 530, right?
Mm-hmm.
You now say for the 3 months that 3 months from end of March to the end of June, I used £641 worth of energy from you. How can that be right when your smart meter says that for 6 months I 530? They said, oh yeah. Well, the smart meter doesn't say everything. It doesn't tell you everything. Just look at this little thing we sent you and cost. I said, yes, I know about these things. I know that it went up from 20p to 28p for a kilowatt hour. Okay, but that doesn't still account. You owe me money back. And eventually, after a long hassle, I got £100. I said, no, you owe more. You owe me more. No, I still haven't got it. And then now, come forward now, and I said, look, what's my bill? I said, oh, you're £157 in debit. I said, how can I be 100 in debit? And they said, oh, well, have you got a bill yet? And I said, no. Are you going to send me one? She said, yes. I said, well, when? She said, I don't know. And the EDF are as incompetent as most of them. And of course, the chief executive of the EDF earns a fortune. I've been going on about this for weeks and weeks and weeks, as you know. And basically, the problem here is that the government hasn't done anything of the cartel, the big suppliers, basically, who just ramp up the bloody prices and to the cost of the other. Now, in later on in energy matters, I'll tell you what's happened lately, which is really worrying. In terms of how the prices are going up, because they've just one little snippet now, they've actually changed the energy cap. It was normally set on the 1st of April and the 1st of October, and now they're doing it every 3 months, which basically means they can put the energy cap up every 3 months. Very, very worrying, but we'll talk about that later.
Right. Okay, that all started from the Daily Express headline.
Yeah.
That tangent. But we'll go to the Times. 60% of Tory members prefer Truss for the next MP. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Hang on. What is that based on?
People voting.
Yes, but who what, has there been a poll?
Yeah, I suppose.
Who would it? Does it say?
Well, they've not just guessed. They've gone, we probably think that it's 60%.
What reading out says whether it's YouGov or what's it? Who says 60%? And what was the number of the people?
YouGov. Yeah, source YouGov.
Spoke to how many people?
Sample size of 1,043 Conservative Party members.
Oh. Is that a very good sample? How many Conservative Party members are there? 160,000, isn't it? No, it can't be. What am I talking about?
I don't know how many that'd be. No, I'm not. It doesn't say. I don't know. But yeah, 60%.
160, I should think, isn't it?
I have no idea. I wouldn't know it.
160,000. Oh, it could be, I suppose.
But 60% of Tory membership prefer Truss for the next MP, which I'm not a Tory member, but I would prefer her. She is the least worst of the two. From the Daily Mail. China's chilling threat over US trip to Taiwan. Beijing vows to target military action after extremely dangerous visit by Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
As I said, I do believe that China's bark is bigger than its bite, actually. That's my opinion. But my knowledge of China and Taiwan is very old.
Yeah.
But these things don't go away. And China was always threatening, beating the drum about Taiwan. How are we going to take it back? Just as they were with Hong Kong, but Hong Kong was different because we more or less gave into them. Because, well, it's actually it's there, isn't it? It's not part of mainland. It is part of mainland China, and Taiwan isn't. So they've got to take it. They've got to take it militarily, which might cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
If America comes to the rescue, it's the white charger on the white horse comes across and actually, militarily they'll knock the bloody China off the course.
Okay, well that was from the Daily Mail. This is from the Metro. Heartbreak for Archie's family.
Yeah,
what is this about? I keep seeing this.
He
all over
was
the place.
actually into a coma in April, and he never got out of it. And the family says he must be, he must be all right. We must be. And then they finally decided that they can't cure him. He can't come back to life.
They're pulling the plug.
They're pulling the plug
at 11
o'clock
today.
Well, it's all there, isn't it?
But
the family's tried everything. They went to the UN.
What happened? What happened?
I can't remember what it was all about. Something happened to him in April last year, where he went into a coma for some reason or other. And since then, he's been having life support. And it's been going on and on and on. And the family sort of went to the UN. And then they've gone to the European Court, and they all said, no, there's no way he's gonna be able to have a normal life. Therefore, all the plugs. It's a very, 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 very difficult and contentious situation, isn't it? Really.
I'm not sure.
You can understand the parents. Everything should be done to do it well. But the authorities, the medical people say we've tried everything, but
I don't know what happened to him.
It'll be there somewhere in the what's it?
No, it's not. I just read through all of it. There's not much. I'll have to look it up for the later segment. The Independent, so much for a legacy, talking about the women's football again. We went through that all yesterday and the day before. Was it Monday?
I think everybody now believes. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the sort of gender abuse of women has gone on for far too long. Why shouldn't women be able to play football? Why shouldn't they be able to play cricket?
No one is saying women can't play football.
Look, it's been banned so many times.
In Saudi Arabia. Yeah, in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, Matt, bloody grow up, Matt. Oh, what century are you living in? Look, the fact of the matter is that, the gender abuse to women has been going on for everything. Women couldn't get jobs as directors right? They couldn't play football. They weren't allowed to play cricket. They weren't allowed to do anything. It was a Victorian attitude that women stayed at home and looked after the children while the husband went to work. That is what has existed for a very, very long time. And now that shibboleth has been bust, and it's very, very good because it can lead to all kinds of things. One small thing, football families can take their families now to go and see a football match.
Right.
It was not possible before because all the bloody lagerlouts were there making things about, and on the field, all the bloody footballers were being rough and tough and taking dives and doing all kinds of things. And that's all gone now. It's all going to go. And it's just wonderful. And you think about all kinds of areas where girls, one of my great granddaughters is playing for Kidderminster. And so it's just wonderful that this is happening. because it can lead to so much other freedoms of abolishing gender abuse.
Yeah, gender abuse has been abolished in
It
this
has
country.
not.
Yes, it has.
God,
Well,
for
no,
God's sake.
women. What rights in this country, in law, do women not have?
It's
Name
not a question of rights. Look at I'll give you another example, shall I? Look, Carrie Tracy was the BBC's correspondent in Beijing, and she moaned about she then came onto the Today programme. She discovered that she was getting £100,000 pay where John Humphreys was getting £600,000 pay. Why is that? Why was that 6 times? It's recently. It was last year, I think. Yeah, right. So why is that right? Why is he getting £600,000 to do the same job? Why? That is gender abuse.
I don't know the breakdown of things. If he's getting more views substantially, if he's getting 6 times more views than that, for example.
But of course he's not. They're on the same bloody programme. What if he's not getting the same number of views?
I don't know anything about that specific situation, but...
Well, I'm telling you what it is, right?
Right.
You're quite annoying me, actually. Look, can't you see this? That why are women paid 6 times less than men?
On that one example.
No.
Right?
No, it's not one example. Don't be silly. Think about all kinds of programs that are doing that. And think about all kinds of situations where the women get far more money. Actresses get far less than actors in some situations, and so forth and so on. It's rife. Gender abuse is rife. You're lucky you're not bloody talking to my daughter there. She's just got an MA in gender abuse, and she'll take you to the cleaners. Anyway, I mean, you sound like some stuffy old Victorian. It's not right. The women's right reading the news. It's not right. They shouldn't be reading the news. Whatever.
When on earth did I say anything like that?
That woman is black. She shouldn't be on television. God gracious me.
Oh God, I don't know. You are talking nonsense, honestly, Stuart. You are completely misinterpreting everything I say about that subject.
Well, because you're wrong.
Because you're misinterpreting what I said.
It's because you're getting annoyed that I'm actually telling you the truth. That's the thing. Where do you get these bloody silly ideas from? That women, have got all rights.
In this country, I'm talking about this country.
Yes, this country,
first world country.
Yeah.
Obviously, in Saudi Arabia, where they get stoned to death if they get raped. Or
As you know, have you been there?
Oh God, no. Luckily, I haven't.
Right. Well, as a matter of fact, ladies can drive cars now in Saudi Arabia.
Yes,
yeah, but look,
they're only allowed to drive automatics, though. They're not allowed to drive manual cars. Because I don't know why.
God, you're bloody God's gift to Saudi Arabia, you are. I mean, honestly. Oh, God.
I hate Saudi Arabia.
Oh, you haven't even been there. How do you know? Well, do you know?
I don't like the culture. I'm not going to say much.
I can't believe that you, an 18-year-old child of considerable intelligence, cannot get around this idea of gender abuse. Really, I can't. I just don't believe it. It's just crazy. You really are Victorian, aren't you? No, the woman should stay at home and look after the children and do the cooking and the cleaning. Meanwhile, you go to work or possibly go to the pub instead. It doesn't matter,
Okay, you sort of... Okay, so with that subject, what I was said is I said it as, what is the most important job in the world? I believe it's the most important job in the world is being a mother.
Yes.
You agreed with me, right?
Yeah.
I
don't agree with you.
Okay, well, I personally think the most important job in the world is being a mother. All right, one of the most important.
Yeah.
Everyone can agree.
Yeah.
Surely, in my opinion, the most important job in the world should be a full-time job. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not saying women should be slaves and tied to the kitchen sink like they do in Saudi Arabia. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm saying the most important job in the world probably should be a full-time job.
Yes, but what do you talk about full-time job? that the mother is the person that can't the husband wheel the pram, or can't the husband take
No, I'm
the
not
kids
saying
to
they
school?
can't.
When I used to take my kids to school.
Yeah.
So I wasn't depriving my wife of a full-time job, was I? You know, is it a full-time job involved that the mother must take the kids to school? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Fine. Then why for? Why can't mothers, right, do things apart from being a mother? Being a mother does not.
I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying they should be. Being a mother should be a full-time job. I'm not saying it has to be.
Well, that doesn't make sense. What do you mean? You're saying that mothers should be.
I'm saying if I make enough money when I'm older for my wife to be able to stay at home and raise the kids as a full-time job, if I make enough money to support multiple people on one income, that is the dream scenario. Obviously, that can't really be the case anymore. It's very difficult for one person to provide an income for a whole family nowadays. Back when you were a kid, when you were my age, that was possible to support a family on one income.
Wrong. I come from a very poor family. My
I'm saying in general.
Right. Well, my stepfather was working class. He was a milkman, and my mother was a full-time mother, and she used to work in a baker's shop, or she used to go out cleaning. So that was what was agreed. To bring in some money.
Right.
But she did a full-time job, right? Although my father would take me to the football match at Chelsea, or my father would actually take the other kids to this, that, and the other. So I think your view of this is ancient. It is almost Victorian, frankly, that the mother has to be there all the time to do everything while the husband brings in the dosh. That is not the case. It simply isn't. And therefore, you're saying that it's a full-time job. Yes, but it does allow some people a husband to help with the work. We actually shared all the charges because both of us had jobs. So we had a nanny, we could afford to do so, which is one thing, and we had a cleaner, which is one other thing. So it's not right, what you're saying, that it's a full-time job. And you're talking about gender abuse again. Anyway, that's what I think.
I don't think that's gender abuse, but whatever.
Well, I hope your Victorian views get you through life, because I think it's going to be very difficult.
All right.
To get there.
All right. Well, we'll move on to the next headline from the Financial Times.
Yeah.
Do you want to read this headline? You've already looked through it a little bit.
Well, do you
want to read this headline from the Financial Times? We have the paper here as well.
Well, this is quite interesting. Sunak was buoyed after Truss ditches plan to cut public sector pay in poorer areas. Well, what that means, according to George Parker, an old friend of mine, I must say, this Truss Tory leadership campaign suffered a serious setback after she was forced to abandon a plan to cut the pay of public sector workers living in poorer areas of Britain. Now that is very, very interesting, isn't it? That that up there in the north, where they're poorer than we are in the south, to cut their pay is not a very, very good idea, because it's going to lose votes apart from anything else.
Yeah, that's a very popular opinion.
Yeah.
But she's still in the lead, I guess, which is...
Sorry?
I mean, she's still in the lead, even with that opinion.
Well, hopefully, but it has obviously done a dent in her leadership.
Yeah. Did she reverse that opinion? Didn't you say?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
12 hours after she set it up.
Okay.
You see, this is. I mean, I personally agree with you. I think Truss will get it and should get it, but I think she's over-promised, and sometimes she's being a bit sort of dreamlike. What can be done.
Don't all politicians do this? Like a couple of weeks ago, she was saying, "I'm going to cut crime by 60%." It's like,
yes,
this is politician talk. You're not actually going to do that. And then when people say, when 16 months comes around for the next election, people say, "Why didn't you cut crime by 60%?"
What you're saying, they make promises they can't keep.
Yes, all politicians do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sunak's doing the same thing, isn't he?
All politicians do the same thing. Literally, I can't think of a single one.
Well, Sunak, for example, when I can remember when the energy crisis was at heart, when all the 29 companies were bust because the gas price was going through the roof, he said we are going to actually abolish the VAT on that to help out, and then he said we're going to abolish the green levies. He didn't do either, right? He didn't do either, and now he's saying just that. But so they do, they turn around, don't they, and sort of make these promises, which they should have made before, really, or which they, thought they could keep. Now, so what, Sunak's promises now are only 200 quid between that abolishing both of that and the home. This means 200 quid per household, right? Which is bugger all, basically.
Okay. Well, we have the last newspaper headline here, and it's a very boring one, and one I'm going to rush through quickly. It's from The Sun, an exclusive report from The Sun. Becky Varden says, I rang Colin and said, what the F is this? ? In regards to the, quote, WAG trial.
Hang on a second. That's The Sun. It's a Murdoch newspaper. Don't believe a word you read in Sun.
I don't often, but that's the headline from The Sun. Very boring. Don't care. So those were the newspaper headlines. Okay, so we'll go to a quick break here. We'll go to Scenes in Sussex. We'll look at some stories from behind the headlines, probably just one or two. We'll take the break, and then we'll come back at 9:45. So we'll leave in about 10 minutes. So, Scenes in Sussex. Okay, welcome back. That was just a 2-minute break of Scenes in Sussex. I have a story here from behind the headlines of Daily Mail. We were briefly talking about the 11-year-old boy, Archie, who's in a coma. And I didn't know what happened to him. But they do have some more information behind the headlines. So it says the legal bid to keep Archie's life support is crushed. So they're going to be pulling the plug on this 12-year-old boy, unfortunately, today at 11 o'clock, which is an hour and a half away. Yikes. But I didn't know what happened to him. It says here, that he was found unconscious in his home, and he was in a coma. So no one actually really knows what happened. At least it doesn't say here in the Daily Mail. He was just found in a coma. So I'm not sure what happened there. But we have some more headlines.
Hang on, what's that one about people being ready to wear those? Hang on, that one. What's that?
Oh, this one. This one.
Oh, God, what is it? Truss is throwing these policies around like confetti, isn't she?
Truss ready to end jail threats over TV license.
Very concerned about how many women have been locked up, she said. Really?
How many people have been locked up over TV licenses? Not that many, I'm assuming. Let me look this up.
I'm concerned about how many women have been locked up, she said.
Oh, how many women? Oh, okay.
Oh, that's putting gender abuse. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Taxpayers' firms given Rishi's COVID loans go bust.
Hang on. How many people have been arrested for not paying their TV license? What? Are you kidding me? Since 2010 to 2020, there have been 52,477 convictions of TV license evasion.
Really?
Yeah, and apparently 76% of that is women.
Oh, because they're at home. Yeah, being mums. Yeah, that's right. Because they're at home being full-time mothers. That's look what you've done.
Only if the
Look
dad
what
was
you've
at
done.
home, he could have been arrested as well for equality.
No, it's a women.
52,000.
76% are women.
52,000 people convicted of TV license evasion, and 76% are women.
See, that'll learn you, won't it? That'll learn you.
Oh, that sure has taught me a lesson.
Women being at home all the time, looking after the children. In fact, they're watching celebrity TV all day.
Imagine going to prison for that. Getting in prison and being like, "Oh, what are you in for? Oh, I'm in here for murder. Oh, what are you in here?"
Yeah. All right, next, right?
Wow.
Next thing, Truss brings in policy of penalising rapists of women in jail.
What? Say that again.
Women who go in jail for, she's going to make sure that the women who are put in jail for TV licenses are not raped in jail.
That is actually a problem now. People in places like, we don't allow it in this country, but they do in Scotland and they do in America in some states. There's been a huge rise in women getting pregnant in prisons. Have you heard about this?
I don't know how. What, in women's prisons?
Yeah.
Really?
Have you heard about this? Do you know what's going on? Do you know why all these women are getting pregnant?
It's the warders.
No, it's the other female prisoners who are raping the other female prisoners and getting them pregnant.
No, can I rape them? What with?
Their female penis, of course.
Really?
Yes, they're yeah. So in Scotland, if you identify as a woman, you get put in a woman's prison if you've done something wrong. So, the real women in the women's prison get raped by the men with their quote female penises. And there's been a huge rise in pregnancies in prison.
Hang on a second. There's a tiny little penis with the clitoris. I don't think women actually excrete sperm, do they?
No, I'm talking about transgenders.
Oh, well, that's different, isn't it? Oh, I thought you said women.
No, with their female penises. Talking about transgender men.
Oh, well, blimey.
So if I say, for example, I am a bad person, I get arrested or something, I'm going to prison, I say, actually, I identify as a woman, I need to go to a woman's prison. I go to a women's prison. Seriously. It's as easy as that. You don't have to have a medical transition. You go to a women's prison. I would go to a women's prison if I said so for gender equality.
Self-identification. Yeah, but
for self-identification.
Isn't it under debate at the moment?
Debate in this country, not in Scotland, and some states in America.
So a transgender person goes to a prison and gets somebody pregnant.
Yes.
Kill grief.
Yeah. So if you got arrested and you said, actually, I'm a woman, you would go to a woman's prison if you're a Scottish citizen.
Oh, is that convenient? I don't know. I don't know what it means, to be perfectly honest.
I
bit
wouldn't
coy,
say convenient. That's definitely not what I would say. But we're going to end off the show here now. It's been a full hour. We'll be back at 9:45 to do the second half of the show. Have you got any guests for today?
We haven't got any guests today, no.
Okay, well, we will see you back here in 15 minutes. So have a good rest of your day.